Welcome to Turn Illness into Brilliance, where we turn problem into solution and illness into the brilliance that is unique to you. Quantum Therapeutics offers solution for C-PTSD, PTSD, and dissociation. In this journey with us, we hope to reignite your curiosity around what is possible. So welcome, welcome, welcome to Turn Illness into Brilliance. Oh my gosh, thank you for being here. Here we are in our second episode of Turn Illness into Brilliance. I'm Sherry Doyen, and today I have with me Sydney Hemwell. I said that right?
Yeah.
She's our team sound therapist, and last week we talked about dissociation and the idea of our astral body being what is actually dissociating from our body. Dissociation means the separation of one thing from the other, right? So literally, that is a literal foundational piece of quantum therapeutics, right? And when we can learn to be in our body, then we can start truly making choices and change. Yeah? So as we move into our segment today, right, I want to start by saying that, we truly believe that, right, to heal, we have to look at all 5 layers of our being: our physical body, our energetic systems, our behavioral systems, our mental systems, and our spiritual systems, right? And those all have to come into play. We can't just look at our physical body and fix it. We can't just look at our mental processes and change them. Like, we truly have to be operating in full awareness of who we are and how we're showing up. And I know for myself through this journey, sound was huge, right? And we truly believe in quantum therapeutics that using what is around us and what comes natural and what is an easy, natural go-to is the first place to start. So by that, I want to introduce Sydney, and I'd like for her to tell us, or tell you, a little bit about herself.
Yeah. So I'm Sydney, and my journey with sound started, from the beginning, long before quantum. But I like to sit first in some stuff with quantum, how it's important. So something that's truly fascinating about sound, about music, is the way it interacts with the brain. So while we sit here and we see colors, different parts of the brain do not go off as we see different colors. But with sound, each sound, noise, tone, it all interacts with a different part of the brain, and you can see that. They've done scans, like watching how it plays around with all the different parts of the brain, which is just truly fascinating because we can really get in there and be really direct with what we're doing. And that's what I've really seen through becoming a sound therapist and now working as a student practitioner with quantum.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, and I know that through our interactions, right, sound's been and music has been very much a part of your journey, mm-hmm. and something that I always felt that we needed to capitalize on because it's a foundation, and music is our access to that, especially mm-hmm. for a musician, a person that is a creator. When they are creating, they're out of the way. They're instant access to that. So, a musician being able to crawl off with their instrument is like, a yogi going into meditation, mm-hmm. right? Exactly. Only in action.
Yeah.
Which I love, right? Mm-hmm. I love that step from sitting with our eyes closed to moving into an active state, which, right. In quantum, we really believe, if action isn't happening, then you're just thinking about it.
Right.
Right?
No, I love that. And then in quantum, when we're talking about working with sound, we like to have the words not there, you know, for it to just be sound. Which is very interesting since so much of us listen to music that has lots of words. And you know, prior to this journey into quantum for myself, those words really like told my story. You know, they really put me in a place where I would sit in things that I didn't necessarily need to sit in. And if it hadn't had those words, like there's just different actions you can take and be inspired to do. You know, the words really solidify where your action is going to go.
Well, and what's real and true is like words have morphic fields, right? They have an energy that comes together. And when somebody's creating a song, right, the alchemy of how those words go together create a build. And they're working towards having a reaction in your body.
Exactly.
Right? That is intentional. So, you know, what I love with the Today I Choose segment, when we can take that intentional words that are in our highest and best, and combine them with sound, then we have some, you know, start embedding them in our bodies, right? We, you know, we have to be very judicious what words we put with those sounds, I really believe, right? And yeah, often like, you know, in my process, it's like if somebody is really gravitating towards music, or they're gravitating towards art, or whatever that creative process is, it's like, let's lean that over here towards, like, if you're, you know, you can paint like beauty rather than destruction, right? You can paint, let's bridge that, right?
Exactly.
Yeah. So now I do believe that using sound intentionally, I do have to share with, you know, me being in that meditation with the music of the plants, right? Like, you know, there's a group of people called Doyen in are they France? Is that France or Italy? I think it's France. You know, and they've developed a bamboo reed type like device that can transport the vibrations of the plants into reality. Now, as a hearer, like, it is interesting, right? Because I hear music everywhere. You? Yeah, I hear music everywhere. And sometimes I even hear singing. Yeah? Do you hear it, like, vocalizing? And, you know, so it's around us everywhere. And to sit with the trees and, you know, because I always felt like I could hear them singing.
Yeah.
But to, like, hear them singing, where everyone is hearing them singing, was, you know, I instantly got up from that meditation and was walking around asking where that music was coming from, because I felt it in every molecule of every water molecule was vibrating, which was super cool. You know, and did you, as a youngster, was that a coping way of coping for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if anything, like, it really brought me back, you know.
To the ground, right?
Exactly. You know, it really...
or in your body.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I could start to feel my body, like I would gravitate towards it for the stimulation in my body, because that would help me, like, come back down and calm down. And now, at the time, I didn't know really what was going on at all. But that's where I went, like, if I were emotional or just something had happened, like, that's where I went. Like, I went and sat with the music, and I would feel that in my body, like, it would validate feelings, you know, like, kind of going through a process with it that allowed me, at the end of that, to actually make better choices, you know.
Absolutely. And, you know, again, when we can use what is around us, and it's not like, you know, oh, I'm going to go sit with this instrument or with this tool and, you know, create ritual. No, you're moving into creation, right? And my whole family played guitar, right? So anytime anything tumultuous was going on, right, you were gonna see a brother over here with a guitar, or an uncle over here out on the porch by himself with his guitar, right? And in that, like, there were no words with that. Like, they were working through and processing by going into the gap with that instrument, right?
Yeah.
That was their access to the gap and the vibrations, right?
Exactly.
It wasn't, you know, and when we can utilize what we're doing instinctually and be like, all right, this is how I process. Awesome, right? I'm going to use that in a very intentional way. You know, I think it's beautiful. And when we can take that then and turn it out to help others in a very intentional way, right? Hello.
Exactly. Yeah.
Life can really start changing.
Yeah.
You
No,
know?
absolutely. No, I love that you mentioned there in that gap, because as a musician and worked with a lot of other musicians, like we talk about sitting there in that sweet spot, like, and many of us have like witnessed it as being a member in the crowd and stuff when you're watching like the funny faces that they'll make or something, or how they're just like, they're not, you know, they're completely there, but they're just in something else, and it's truly amazing.
And it's a communion, which, you know, is also, as musicians, I'm always a little envious of that communion that happens in that space, right? In that vibration of sound. You know, it's like a coven or a prayer circle, right? I mean, truly, because you're coming together with one intention. Right?
Yeah.
And you're having to listen and lean into and really trust each other, which rarely happens on this planet. Right? So it's truly like family in its highest state.
No, that's so funny that you mentioned that, because truly, yeah, when you work together in a group of musicians, like, that does, you don't have to work together very long. You're talking about this sense of family, like that. I've had worked with people for a few days, and it's like at the end of those like few days, it's like, we should do this forever. Like, you know, we're just there in that space, and it is amazing how it can just like grow that bond. Like, we weren't like just sharing everything about ourselves, or like really spending a lot of time outside of the rehearsal space together. And rehearsal time was pretty like, we're playing music. So it's just really fascinating to see that when you're talking about with family and how we're here bringing that to quantum as well.
Yeah. You know, because it is interesting, you know, that feeling of being home, right? And being home requires you being activated. And being activated is more than sitting in meditation. Right now, you know, I just came from this big journey from Mexico, and probably the first day I was there, I was invited to a meditation. So in my mind, right, I'm thinking meditation, right? Like, it was the most moving experience because, you know, people sat for about 3 seconds and then they were up dancing. It was a celebration of life. Right? And right in the middle, you know, music's going, everybody's dancing, right? Bodies are moving, the words that are coming out, the words that are very intentional as to be, you know, embedded in the system, right? And in the middle of that, they brought out food, like a certain cake that everybody took a bite of, very similar to like, you know, Christianity bringing out the host. It was very similar, but had no religious ties other than communion and community and celebration. It was a beautiful experience, right? And very different. And it's something that, you know, we're trying to bring into this Today I Choose segment of our show.
Yeah.
Right? To say, like, you know, our journey on this planet needs to be more than dealing and coping, right? And we need to find joy somewhere, right? And the moment that you can begin to discover joy, even for 2 or 3 minutes, you get to grow that. There is an opportunity for that, right? And quantum, right, is so rapid in clearing up the debris, right, that you can actually turn the bus around and go, hey, wait, who am I? You know, I know when I was studying with Chopra, like, that was a persistent question, who am I? And I'm like, how can I even know that if I'm not in my body, right? How can I know, like, what I like or don't like, right? You know, we can't know any of that until we're in our body, and I think sound can be very beneficial in that space, right? And, you know, back to the words that you spoke to earlier, you know, that's something that I think is important for us to be cautious about. We touched on just briefly earlier, but, you know, words have morphic fields. So if you're going to put word with the vibration of sound, right, which is the same, like, frequency of your auric field, that means those words are, you know, just have instant access to you, right? Those words need to be chosen with intention, right? And, you know, taking the words completely off the table and calling for the words that you need that day, right? And saying them out loud in that space is more powerful than listening to someone else's words that are going to create contamination, because words can either be germs or they can be fertilizer. Yeah?
Exactly, yeah.
Right?
Yeah. No, I think it's interesting talking about how we need to be in our bodies in order to figure out, like, what who we are. Because in my journey with sound, like, up until I did QT, that was the only thing I knew I liked. Like, that was it, you know? And I find that interesting because of that journey of how it really brought me into my body. Like, how the one thing that was always kind of bringing me back, something that I needed to learn to do on my own, was so, like, impactful, so profound, in that, like, this is what I'm going to do with the rest of my life.
Yeah,
you know,
that's amazing. Well, and like you and I have spoken, that I see, like, systems and things, and, you know, the auric field, you know, which is our force field, right, weaves out very much like, you know, in sound waves. It's sound waves, right? Yeah. And, you know, I kind of see them, like, intertwining around us to create a force field, right? So if we're vibrating with, you know, a song that is littered with harmful words, they're just going to have instant access. Yeah?
Yeah. So I think a beautiful thing about what you just said, going into kind of the sound therapy world. So in the sound therapy world, like, there's not words, we're not talking about that. Like, we're talking about you're seeing this, the field around and how that's weaving in and out. We're using tuning forks to read that and to measure it. You can hear it when it touches, like, people's fields, and so we can start working in that field.
Oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool, because I would love to. I always love when what I see as a psychic is validated in the 3D. Otherwise, it's hard to even say it out loud. So that's cool. Like, I would love to have a demonstration of that.
Yeah.
Sometime, right? To say, okay, like, you know, there's validation for how those waves and how far out from the body they are. How far can we, because what comes through for me often is when people feel very vulnerable, they have their auric field pulled in really tight, right? And in that space, we feel invisible, we feel like we're suffocating, we feel trapped, right? And if we have our auric field expanded out optimally about 6 feet all the way around, right? Its weave is very natural, right?
Yeah.
And we have space between the chaos of the world and the constant vibration coming in and the information and our body. Yeah?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Now, another thing you and I have talked about numerous times is the connection between the bowls and the chakras and the notes.
Yes. So, and you can go into that like in so many different ways, but we have our pretty basic C scale, which is just like the plain, for those who aren't musicians, it's just like the most basic scale in music. And starting out at the bottom of that, that's going to resonate with your root chakra, and going up C, D, E, F, G, A, B with each chakra.
So what's interesting is I remember calling you when I was in New Mexico, and I kept hearing, you know, to resonate with, you know, the A note, right? Which you said was third eye.
Yes.
Right? So, yeah, I find that fascinating.
Yeah, so that gives us like this access to just like be really direct and play around exactly where we're trying to be. Like if you're looking for some kind of movement between the heart and the throat chakra, like heart is F, throat is G. So we're gonna play around at F sharp, you know?
Yeah. Makes sense. Yeah, totally makes sense.
And we can do this with our voices, like with other instruments. Like it's really a tool that you can take with you anywhere.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. So I hope this was helpful for you guys. And, you know, as we move into the Today I Choose portion of this, please get up on your feet. Allow these very intentional words and these very intentional notes to activate, right, change in your system and balance, right? Yeah. Now let's take a big deep breath as we shift gears and move into the Today I Choose segment of our show. We'd like to invite you to carve out a spot in your home where you're going to feel completely free to allow your body to speak and move and be present in this very moment. Thought, word, and action come together with the frequency of sound. So get comfy, close your eyes, and allow the words to turn into action and action turn into reality with Today I Choose. Welcome back to Today I Choose. Now today's segment is focused in on your chakra system. Now, through this process, we're reclaiming our systems. We've reclaimed our body. We've reconnected our wisdom circuit. And today is about looking at this chakra system as if it were an actual system, right? Now, I see this system a little differently, right? I see it more like hydraulic, right? Where the discs lay flat rather than upright. Each chakra at its optimum is about expanded out to about a foot away from your body. They all should be operating as a unit, each with its own purposes and its own duties, but as a unit. So we're going to focus in on those toes, and we're going to get that rhythm going, right? Right? We're going to make sure we're here, bringing our awareness, our astral body into that corpus callosum, drawing that energy behind your eyes back. It's the upper portion of your wisdom circuit. Drawing that energy behind your eyes back. It's the upper portion of your wisdom circuit. 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 It's the upper portion of your wis We're dropping down, we're filling up that chest cavity. We're claiming it, right? And we're witnessing our corpus callosum connecting down, activating all those brain cells in your heart muscle. We can witness that. It's an activation. We're going to fill up those arms all the way down to the tips of your fingers. Now we're going to drop down. We're going to fill up that torso all the way down to your sits bones. Activating all those brain cells in your gut. It's your wisdom circuit, right? Your gut, heart, head. Makes sense, yeah? Now we're going to fill up those legs, thighs, calves. We're taking ownership of the space our body is claiming, yeah? All the way down to the tips of those toes. Now we're going to find the pulse in the big toe of that right foot. In the big toe of your left foot. Welcome home. You're activated. Now let's turn our awareness to this chakra system. Right? This is a rainbow of color that makes perfect sense. Right? Ayurveda says that our chakras develop in 7-year increments. So that root chakra is your default program. That is how you view the world when your back's against the wall, right? And we can get stuck there sometimes, in those loops, right? So one of the first steps towards reclamation, right, is making sure all your systems are connected, right? So as we focus in on this root chakra, the color of the root is red. Right? And we can feel that opening and expansion in your hips. Right? It may take a little work, but we want to feel this chakra spinning clockwise. Right? Any warbles, any lags, we're going to witness them smoothing out. The color red is vibrant. Any cloudiness that is not useful for you today is released out into the universe to be recycled into something new and different. Yeah? Feel that. Right? That expansion through your hips. Right? And we can feel the centrifugal force of that spin pulling at your lower abdomen, right? That's your sacral chakra, right? And it's wanting to fall into sync, right? And become a part, an active part of this unit, right? So this is up to 14, yeah? Puberty. All your sexual organs and experiences. Yeah. Any lags, any warbles, any dissonance in the color. We're witnessing that sync. We're experiencing that sync as the resistance is released. Now we can feel the beautiful synchronicity of these lower two activating the solar plex. Now we have to know that each one of these chakras corresponds with a note on the C scale, right? Beginning with C. Yeah? So as Sydney is singing behind us, right, tune into that and allow these notes to do their work as well, because you are a sound wave. Now the solar plex is our energy center. That's where the Agni fire is housed, right? Do you have a little candle flame or do you have a bonfire? Right? So we're going to witness this chakra with the color of the sun, a beautiful, brilliant yellow opening and expanding to meet the edges, right, of those lower two. So it can work as one in unity, as was intended. All warbles, all dissonance, right? That space between procrastination and overdoing, we find a rhythm. Your rhythm. Now we can feel these lower three pulling at that heart chakra. It may be paused. It may be running in circles the wrong way, right? So we can feel that draw of these lower three. You don't have to do anything, right? The force is drawing it into unity. And we can feel that heart chakra expanding out to meet the edges of the lower three. If it's too big, we're drawing it in, right, to become in unison, like a rainbow, right? Now, as we're in this heart chakra, the color of the heart is green. It's growth, right? It's growth. So as we look at that heart muscle, right, we see anything that is hindering growth fall away. Right? So that you have an opportunity for a new and different choice. Yeah? Now these lower chakras easily activate our throat chakra. Right? You know what you want to say. You know what you're here to say. Right? And that has to be in alignment with what you're here to do. Or it's not true. Yeah? So we feel that beautiful sapphire blue expanding. Pulling in the words that are necessary and important. And releasing all of those that are bacteria out into the universe to be recycled into something new and different. Now you can feel this activation as it rises up into that third eye chakra. Color is an eggplant. This chakra is filled with information and possibility outside of the structure of what man says is possible. That's why you're here, right? That's why you're here. We need you. So we witness that chakra expanding out. We witness the light moving forward, right? As you claim your space as a vehicle for that information, right? Now, very easily we rise up into the crown, which is an ultraviolet. No effort there, right? Because we're in operational order. Now, the Kundalini, right, is an energetic version of our spinal cord. The chakra system, an energetic version of our spinal column, right? So we want to make sure that that silver cord, the kundalini rises up through the center of that chakra system, unencumbered, right? Through our corpus callosum, through the center of our third eye, right, our crown, and connecting into the massive field of information, right? And we're calling in clarity. We're calling in purpose, right? We're removing ourselves out of the U-turn, right, of should, woulds, and coulds. And every thought, word, and action is on purpose, right? Because then and only then is happiness possible, right? When what you think and what you say and what you do are in unison and there's no lag between the three, right? You're here, right? In the world and not of it. Welcome home, right? Welcome to balance. Welcome to justice. Am clear. Yay! Yay! Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And on behalf of myself and the Quantum Therapeutics team, we want to thank you for turning Turn Illness into Brilliance, where we turn problem into solution and illness into the unique brilliance that is you. Quantum Therapeutics for rapid results for resolution to C-PTSD, PTSD, and dissociation. Today, you can choose to schedule your call for freedom.